Is my slide visible now? Okay.
Yes,
So yesterday we were talking about the smell. So I will add some few points in yesterday's class. Okay, some portions I left it with not much explanation. Okay. So just to recollect what we have discussed yesterday, the smell is received, the sense of smell is received by the olfactory, the smell receptors. They are also called the olfactory cells, which are present in the epithelium, okay, of the olfactory organ. That is, on the epithelium of the nasal cavity, there are presence of the smell receptors called the olfactory cells, and they are having one dendrite, and dendrite is again having what, multiple cilia. Okay, 10 to 20 cilia are present, and they are going to dissolve the smell molecule. Okay, and the cell extends its axon, okay, in the form of phyla olfactoria, and the numbers of the phyla olfactoria, these are the olfactory nerve fibers. They enter through the foramen in the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone and enters the olfactory bulb. And the olfactory bulb consists of tufted cells and the mitral cells. Okay, and these mitral cells and tufted cells, they will synapse with these axon terminals of the phyla olfactoria. Okay, and this whole of this olfactory bulb will be receiving numbers of the phyla olfactoria, and there will be synapse of the different these two types of the nerves. Okay, then it will continue as the olfactory tract. So yesterday, after I told about that, about the signal has reached to after the signal has reached to this olfactory bulb, what happens? Okay, so this is a part of this is the olfactory nerve, and these are the olfactory nerve fibers. They are entering the olfactory bulb. Okay, so this olfactory bulb, there is transmission of these messages. So yesterday I said that if the smell receptor is binding to this olfactory cell, and if it creates sufficient excitatory potential, then it will transmit messages. Okay, so that I will explain today. So after the nerves, okay, they leave the olfactory bulb. Okay, from the olfactory bulb, through the olfactory tract, the nerve will leave. Okay, and they will enter through the on the two sides. Okay, so this side of the olfactory bulbs sending its olfactory tract on the one side, okay, and this side will be sending onto the another side. That is called the ipsilateral side. Okay, so the olfactory nerve that will exit the olfactory bulb and enter through the olfactory tract, and okay, this will enter and come through the olfactory tract. Okay, so this is the lateral olfactory tract, left and the right. Then it will reach the pyriform lobe. Okay, that is the olfactory lobe, which is concerned for the test, okay, which is concerned for the smell and some nerve signals, okay, some of the nerve fibers, it will further send is messages, and it will reach also to the other portions which are not concerned for the smell. The portion which is concerned for the smell will perceive the sense of smell, and the portions which are those portions that is to the hippocampus and to the septum. Okay, the amygdala, hippocampus, and the septum, they will also receive the nerve terminals bringing from the olfactory bulb. So this portion, the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the septum, they are associated with emotion. Okay, the limbic system, so they are associated with the emotion. So some of the smell molecules, they also cause emotional what is called imprinting. Say which smell you knew long time before, and that is the emotional imprinting. Okay, the some smell molecules will also give the signals and reach the smell, that is the olfactory cortex, in by reaching to the piriform lobe and also to the non-olfactory portions reaching to the limbic system, consisting of amygdala, entorhinal cortex of the parahippocampal gyrus, hippocampus of the hippocampal formation, and septum. So these are nothing but the parts of the limbic system. Okay, so someone can be asked that how the smell is also associated with the emotion. Then that is because the nerve tracts, okay, the nerve tracts rising from the olfactory bulb, they also reach the non-olfactory portions that is associated in the emotion. That is, they reach also to the limbic system. Same like this, okay, not only this, some of the nerves will also reach to the another side olfactory bulb. Means that these nerve tracts which are rising from the olfactory bulb of the left one will also reach to the right also. Then this will happen in both the cases. The ones which are arising from the right will reach to the piriform lobe in the olfactory cortex, and also to the non-olfactory portions, and also the nerve tracts will be reaching to the opposite olfactory bulb. Okay, so this is all about the central pathway of olfaction. So this explanation was missed yesterday. Okay, so you have some knowledge on it also, then how smell is associated with emotion, because the nerve tracts are reaching not only the olfactory cortex but also to the limbic system. Is it okay up to this? So what you have to know here is where is the olfactory bulb, which nerve is associated with olfaction, who is this, who are the olfactory cells, and which type of cells are present in the olfactory bulb. Okay, those mitral cells and the tufted cells. Okay, so those you may get some cross match and all that mitral cells, which will be cross match with smell, like that. Okay, so those things you should remember. Okay, now is the test. Okay, so as per the test is concerned, the types of the test, okay, the types of the test that animals have, they are described as mainly as pleasant and unpleasant. They cannot differentiate. Further, if we look into the test mechanisms of the animals, particularly for the dogs, okay, they seem to have, okay, some sense of taste for sweet salt, sour, and bitter like the human beings. Okay, but in case of the animals, the taste for salt, particularly for dogs, the taste for salt is quite less. Means the taste buds, the number of the taste buds available for the taste of salt is very very less in case of the dogs as compared to the human beings. Say something like 1700 taste buds are present in case of human being, but in animals it is only 700. And in case of the again further the dogs, okay, they seem to have more taste buds. Okay, the dogs may seem to have more of the taste buds than the cats. uh, say around 470 taste buds are there. Again, these taste buds are of these and the taste buds are again located on different portions of the tongue that you might have studied. I suppose in anatomy, have you studied about the tongue? What are the different type of the papilla? What are the different type of the taste buds associated? Okay, so different portions, these taste buds are located on the different portions of the tongue. Particularly, it is on the rostral, on the first two-third rostrum of the tongue, and particularly on the tip and the lateral portions. Is it okay? I'm telling what you know with that. Yes. Okay. So this, first of all, we will discuss about the taste receptors. Okay. So these taste receptors, they are present. They are present on the mucosa of oral and the pharyngeal cavity. Okay. So what are these taste receptors? These are the taste receptor cells. Okay, so each of the taste receptor cells, okay, with these taste receptors, yes, hello, yes, any problem?
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. So these taste receptor cells, they are present within a taste bud. Okay, so just see, so this is one taste bud, this is one taste bud, and this is another taste bud. Say, if we enlarge this taste bud is consisting of the taste cells, receptor cells. So one taste receptor cell, another taste receptor cell, another and another. Something like a cluster of bananas. And these taste receptor cells, their orientation, their presentation is such that they form a pore, okay, in the middle. Something like one taste receptor cell forming a pore over here. And that is called the taste pore. And each of these taste receptor cells again have the hair-like projections, cilia. Okay, so they are they project like this out of the taste pores. So if this taste pore is enlarged, suppose a papilla on the tongue with the taste buds on the lateral borders. If it is this is the papilla and this is enlarged here like this, it consists of the taste cells, and taste cells are organized in a form of a cluster of banana, and they have a central depression, okay, in because of their orientation, and that is called the taste pore. Okay, so there are, what are the different types of the taste? That is the taste of sweet, bitter, sour, salty, or umami taste. Have you heard this term, umami taste?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
If you have
Yes,
heard
ma'am.
that, what is this? Umami?
Ma'am, the taste in meat in Japanese fish or meat in Japan.
Actually, in Japan, they give a taste like the umami, but that is the sense of delicacy. Okay, that you feel like there is no taste, but you feel some delicate feeling while eating a food. It is neither sweet, bitter, nor sour or salty, but you feel that some kind of that delicate feeling. You understand that Japanese call it as a umami test. Okay, and so for most of the animals, it is they differentiate the taste as pleasant and unpleasant, or they cannot differentiate. That is indifferent. Okay, but for dogs seem to have sense of taste for sweet, sour, and bitter. Okay, so these four tests, just like human beings, dogs seem to have all these four tests. Okay, so you might be knowing that the position of the taste buds. Okay, the taste buds for meaty test. Okay, they are primarily located in the rostral 2/3 of the dorsal surface of the tongue. Okay, so you remember this. That is rostral. Rostral, you understand?
Ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
towards the head or towards the mouth. Okay, towards the mouth, that means the front portion, the first 2/3 of the dorsal surface of the tongue is having taste buds for meaty taste and taste buds for sweet taste, that is present on the rostral and lateral portions. Okay, the rostral and the lateral portions of the tongue. Okay, then that is for sweet. Then the taste buds for salty and the sour taste, they are on the lateral sides but more caudal to the area occupied by the sweet taste buds. However, the taste buds for salt occupy only a small area. So, if we compare the salt taste buds for human and for dogs, it is much and much lesser in case of dogs. So we are talking about the animals. So the taste buds for salt, it is very less in case of animals. That's why you see uh, in case of the dogs, no, you can give them without any. You can give like uh, meat or cook with some vegetables without adding any salt. They don't feel any difference whether there is salt or no salt. So they will eat. Okay, so they find that is because of the absence of the salt tasting taste buds in them. Again, further, the taste buds for salt is again further less in case of the cats. If we compare of dogs and cats, and it is again further less in case of cats. Okay, and the taste buds for bitter taste, they are located on the caudal portion of the tongue. So these you might be knowing already from the anatomy, but it is also important to know that okay, this what happens. So this smell, sorry, the taste pores. Okay, so this on this taste pores, the chemicals which are present in the food, the chemicals which are for the taste, each of the flavor or each of the taste will have binding site to one particular taste cell. That means one particular taste cell will respond to only one type of the taste. Another test cell will respond to another type of the cell. Okay, and in this, it is almost like how we have discussed in case of smell, like the taste molecules, they will bind to the hairs. Okay, so these taste cells they are all connected with the nerve terminals. So what they do, they will elicit certain changes into the test cell, and they will lead to the depolarization of those test cells and the further transmission of the impulses. Okay, so here something like we discussed for the smell, there will be increase in the sodium influx or there will be increase in the calcium influx depending on the test. It is not very clearly known so far in case of the animals which mechanism is involved in it. Okay, but anyway, there will be either due to the binding of the taste molecule to the taste receptors, then there will be changes in the membrane permeability of the taste cell that will allow either influx of the sodium or the more influx of the calcium, and that will lead to the depolarization of this test cell and further transmission of the signal. And how that signal is going to be transmitted to the brain, to the test center. So that is how they are types of the cranial nerves. One is the cranial nerve 7, that is the facial nerve, and the cranial nerve 11, that is the glossopharyngeal nerve. That means the tongue, okay, the tongue will be receiving nerve signals, or the signals from the tongue will be going through two cranial nerves. One is through the facial nerve, another through the glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay? Is it okay? You know this or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you must be knowing. Okay. So anyway, you listen here. So here what they do, the cell bodies of the bipolar neurons. Okay. The cell bodies of those bipolar neurons, that means those neurons which are innervating the taste buds. Okay. So their cell bodies are located in the geniculate ganglion of the facial nerve and distal ganglion of the glossopharyngeal nerve. That means there is involvement of these two nerves. So that the cell bodies of those bipolar neurons means these bipolar neurons, like just like we discussed for the smell cells, they are innervated by they are of bipolar neuron types. Okay, so here also it's the same. So the cell bodies of these bipolar neurons, they are located one in the geniculate ganglion of the facial nerve and the another in the distal ganglion of the glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay, then further the peripheral axons from the geniculate ganglion, okay, and the axons from the distal ganglion, they will leave and further they are going to reach to the tongue. How? Firstly, the peripheral axons from the geniculate ganglion will leave the facial nerve after they leave the cranium to form the chorda tympani nerve and run through the middle ear cavity. Okay, they will follow this nerve track. Then what will happen? The chorda tympani will join the lingual nerve and innervate the taste buds on the rostral, 2/3 of the tongue. Okay, on the another side, okay, so this the peripheral axons from the geniculate ganglion, okay, from the cranial nerve 7. For cranial nerve 7, it will be reaching the rostral, 2/3 of the tongue. Okay, on the another side, the central axons from the distal ganglion, that is a part of the cranial nerve 9. Okay, this will reach the tongue via the lingual nerve. Okay, and where it will reach? It will enter the base of the tongue and provide sensory fibers to the taste buds in the caudal portion of the tongue. So the one which is arising from the cranial nerve 7, okay, the peripheral axons which are arising from the cranial nerve 7 will be reaching the tongue, okay, through the lingual nerve and will be supplying the rostral portion of the tongue, okay, while the another portion of the nerve, which is a part of the cranial nerve 11, will reach the tongue via the lingual nerve and it will reach the what? Caudal portion of the tongue. Okay, so these two portions of the two nerves, okay, that is the facial branch of the facial nerve, that is cranial nerve 7, and the glossopharyngeal nerve, that is a cranial nerve 9. They are going to innervate the tongue on different portions. Okay, is it okay? This much is important, okay, for test. So this is one picture showing how it is. You see, so this is one test cell, okay, the sensory test cells, so membrane receptors, and this is a hair, okay, one single hair. This is a bipolar neuron, and this will be getting these hair cells, okay, so this will be getting the signal, okay, and then further it will transmit the signal to the sensory cortex. Okay, only this much I want to teach. Okay,
Ma'am, this will be included in our test?
No, in this it will not be included, only up to eye, ear. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
The whole part of the respiratory system, whole part of the nervous system, and then eye and ear. From special sense, eye and ear will be included. Taste and the smell will not be included. Okay, it will be too much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so in the test, what is important is that what kind of tests are perceived by the animal and which taste buds, okay, which type of the taste buds are located on different locations of the tongue. That is important. Okay, and whether this salt, okay, the sense of the salt, this is less in case of animals, that you should know. Okay, and particularly for the dogs, they have very less amount of taste buds which can sense salt. Okay, and then the central pathway for olfaction, that is important in terms of how the smell is associated with emotion. Okay, so the smell nerve tracts, they are reaching not only the olfactory cortex, they are also reaching the limbic system, and limbic system is associated with what? Emotion. Okay, so that is important. Do you want any clarifications? Do you want to ask anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay, up to this. You can study for your exam. I will leave you early. I won't continue further. Actually, I could have finished these two topics together in one class itself, but I thought it would confuse you, so I have not included. So you can leave for today. You can study for
Thank
your
you,
exam.
ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Mm.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.